All right, hello and welcome back to Gay by Gay. How's it going?
Hello.
So we are talking about boys this week.
Yeah.
Boys.
It's pretty ironic for a gay podcast.
For a gay
but,
podcast where it's run by like women and we're talking about boys. Well, I mean, at the very least, I'm bi.
Yeah.
But last
You're half
time
gay.
we kind of talked about Aaliyah with you and MD, just
Oh, yeah.
how you were already gay, but it was almost like the deterioration of your relationship led you to just finally being like, you know, what am I doing this for? Why am I keeping this inside of me?
Yeah.
I could look at titties instead.
Why was I keeping it inside of me?
Yeah.
I love it when you say things like that.
Damn it.
I'm ace. I don't think
I
about
just
these
turn
things.
into things.
I
understand it too, so I'm just
Yeah.
like, God damn it, she's gonna say something.
So this time we are going to be talking to Charlie.
Hi.
Hello, Charlie.
Hi.
So, when did you figure out you were gay?
Well, I think I've always been gay. Like, there's always been signs, but I kind of just pushed away from it. No, gay is not for me.
Gay is not for me.
Yeah. Like, I went through a muscle shirt phase. I went through a pixie cut phase.
Yeah. But you have been gay for quite some time.
Yeah, I think I came out as bi, like, in May. And
Yeah.
I was, like, lying to myself.
Yeah.
And I think I came out when Aaliyah came out, because that's when I realized, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
And that,
I'm like, it's okay to be gay.
yeah, I
If
remember
Aaliyah's
you.
gay, I
I
can be
remember
gay
you
too.
even looking at
Aw.
me.
Yeah.
I remember you saying, Abby, I don't want to steal Aaliyah's thunder. I think I'm gay too, but I don't want to say anything because Aaliyah just figured it out, and I don't want her to think I'm copying
Yeah.
her. And I looked at you and I said, Charlie,
I was so worried about
you've
that.
always
I
been
didn't
like
think
this.
that.
You've
Yeah.
always been.
You've always been like this.
I remember I
you're,
woke-
you're not ruining, like, you're not stealing her
Yeah.
thunder. You were like this
Yeah.
too.
I was like sitting outside our porch at the cabin at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Abby comes out. What are you doing up early? You never get up.
She never
That's
gets up
when-
early. She
that's when
never
she knew
gets up,
something was wrong.
She never gets up before like noon to 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Never.
So I was just like, Abby, I think I'm gay, and she's like, I know. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
want to. I don't want to take Aaliyah's thunder. So like, I don't know what to do about it. She's like, it's okay. Just you'll figure it out. I'm like, so.
So with you being gay, do you think that has anything to do with your relationship with guys? Do you think you do not have the best relationship with
No.
most guys? Do you think that led you to being gay? Or do you think you were always gay and that's just kind of helped it along a little bit where you were like, yeah, nah, I don't want to put up with
No,
this?
it helped it definitely. It's not the reason I'm gay, because being gay, I like boobs.
I like boobs.
And I feel like even if you were traumatized, I feel like that wouldn't inherently make you like the
No.
other sex. I feel like that would make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, more
with
uncomfortable with
men,
yeah.
but I don't feel like that would make you attracted to women
No.
either. So I
Yeah.
think, you know, it's a combination of things,
I think
right?
after my grandpa died, I sort of lost hope in all men.
So I know that there have been a couple. Unfortunately, you are what I would term as jailbait.
Yeah.
You look a lot older than you are. You are very pretty, and unfortunately, this gets you into trouble.
Yeah. I feel like honestly, I feel like I'm not that pretty. But
Yeah,
I think I'm okay with myself. I'm not ashamed of the way I look and the way my body looks. I don't have a body yet. I'm only 14. But anyways, I feel like
I don't get a body until I'm at
I
least
really
18.
don't. I remember talking to Aaliyah about that. I was like, Aaliyah, I don't care. She's like, you don't have a body yet. I'm like, I know.
Well, puberty and
Yeah.
some girls just
I'm
don't.
I'm finally growing armpit hair, guys. I'm so proud.
I like this is what you're proud of. You're proud of your armpit hair.
I'm a real boy now.
I'm a real boy. But I know that there's one in particular.
Yeah.
Let's call him Tug.
Tug. Yeah.
He has unfortunately given you quite a bit of trouble for quite a few
the most
years at this point.
traumatizing thing that's ever happened to me. I'd say.
One
One of the most.
One
I
of.
think it was the longest one.
It's been the
Yeah.
longest running, that's for sure, because you've been able to get out of every other situation. This situation with Tug, you have not been able to get out of
yeah.
even to this day.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a lot better today, though. I haven't seen him in a while. But, like,
Is that because of COVID or because of action being
because
taken?
of COVID?
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
if there's one good thing the C-19 gave us, it's that Charlie can escape one of her, attackers.
Yeah.
And that is what I will call him.
Yeah.
So
He's a cousin lover, everyone. That's a native term.
That's a native.
Get familiar
I thought that
with
was
it.
like a white redneck thing.
No.
Cousins.
Well, that's like Alabama. Sweet
That's like
home Alabama. Anyway.
I hope we don't get copyrighted for that. We're not good singers.
No.
Please don't demonetize us. Anyway, so Tug is actually related to you.
He's my cousin. He's my first cousin.
disgusting.
He's my mom's
well, I mean,
sister's kid.
not that your cousins are disgusting,
Oh, no,
but just
yeah.
just this particular person
I
being
like
your
how
cousin
you
is
had
disgusting.
to define that he was your
first
because
cousin.
he is. That's gross.
Well, it's gonna
like
be
the,
gross.
It's like
no
the,
matter.
I know.
Well, I mean, I'm not
But
saying
it's like the Karen Smith thing. You have your first cousins and then you have your second cousins. No, honey, that's not how that works. No.
and I hate to say it, but like cousins to me is just one step below siblings.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah, like this sounds. I shouldn't be saying, but my mom and my dad are very far away cousins.
Oh, honey, we shouldn't be saying any of this. That's why we have a
Yeah.
podcast.
But-
we shouldn't say any of this.
Like I mean, it's worse because we're first cousins.
yes.
But like with my mom and my dad's bad, but not as bad. You know what I mean? And it's not like it was like a sexual harassment thing. They had 4 kids, but
They had 4 kids.
oh, Jesus, child.
anyways,
Your cousin Tug, though,
Yeah.
he has given you a lot of trouble.
yeah.
Because unfortunately, he thinks you're pretty. And yes, I do mean in that kind of way, unfortunately. So I don't even know
I know,
where to
right?
start with this one. This one, if you thought I was angry about the whole situation with Aaliyah and MD, y'all have no idea how I feel about this particular situation. You know, I had said before, I have no problem throwing MD to the crocodiles in the bayou. No one would ever find Tug's body.
No, he'd be incinerated.
I remember.
He would just disappear off the face of the planet if I could make it so.
I remember my first year, and I don't think that's even when I told. I didn't talk to Leah and Abby at all that year.
Well, it's
Like-
not that you didn't
Well, I
talk to
talked
us.
to you guys, but,
we did not start getting close until
Yeah.
realistically your second year of dance because I think you were so afraid of
Yeah.
making a misstep that you were somehow afraid that we
Yeah.
were going to like kick you off the team or something.
That was my mentality. But yeah.
Eventually, you came to realize that no, Abby and Aaliyah are also humans,
Yeah.
and I can talk to them.
Yeah. And I just remember, I never told Abby and Aaliyah about Tug at that point. And my auntie decided to invite herself and Tug to my recital. And I can feel Abby not knowing what he did to me yet, but she was like mad already. And I was like, why is she mad? I thought it was because of MD, but then after I realized, I'm like, oh, it was because of him.
The thing about being psychically empathetic is that I pick up on things long before I should, very obviously, and I almost always take the standpoint of I am not going to say anything until they approach
She
me
knows
with it.
before you even tell her.
And that's the problem is that I knew and I put myself, because of my own rules, into a box where I could not say anything, and so I had to sit there and just simmer silently on it, knowing what had happened, and the anger I felt coursing through my body. But of course, I wasn't going to tell you that I knew because you would never have opened up to me otherwise, right?
'Cause,
I
like,
would have frightened you
I
more
thought
than
it was
anything.
either because I messed up my solo or one of the
Not even
dances
close.
went like
Not even close.
disgustingly. I mean, some of them did, but anyways.
That's not the point. That's different.
And I also thought it was because of MD later, but then later on, I'm like, oh, that's why she was mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
But going back, when did this start? Like we've kind of hedged around a lot of it, but
I think like a year before. It's so hard to say. I think maybe when I was 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10
so
and
even
11.
the year before you came to dance for us,
Yeah, it didn't
was
happen
already
during
going on.
dance.
it started before.
Yeah, it started maybe like 9, 10-ish.
So this has been going on for quite a while.
Yeah, because I went through this 3-year thing where I would go to the States, like Grand Forks and like Fargo, like every 2 months. Like it was a road trip thing. That's how often it happened. Because he would come every single 2 months with me and my grandparents.
Okay, so the first scenario that we're talking about here, y'all were on one of the road trips in the car together. Yeah.
We were in the back seat together, and we didn't sit in the middle. I sat on this side. He sat on this side.
I like how you say this side and this side.
I know
as
you
if
guys
they
can't
can
see.
you.
Left and right.
Obviously, that's how a car works, Charlie. Were you sitting on his head, or where else were you?
Oh.
Not like that. Oh, Christ. Regardless, your 2 grandmothers were in the front seat, and you and
They're
Tug.
not lesbians. That's her mom.
Can you explain what you mean by grandmothers?
My grandma's mom.
Your great grandma.
So, what you would call...
They're not lesbians, everyone. I swear.
So it's your great grandma, your grandma, and then you and Tug in the back.
Yes. They're not lesbians.
They're not lesbians.
Nope.
They're mother and daughter.
Yes. Great. I completely forgot to mention that. I was like, wait. Anyways, yeah. So there was this one time, the first time it ever happened. I was staring out the window, and my full body was like facing out there, and I couldn't see him. I was just watching the nice road and everything. And
The nice road?
The nice road.
The nice road.
Not the road.
Wow,
The things.
that road is so nice, man. I could stare at that forever.
The things off other than on the grass.
Do you mean the fields?
Yes. He's like, I'm still looking out the window. He's like tapping me. And I'm like, what? I turn around. He's like, look. And I turn around and has like his little dingling out. And I'm like, oh.
Little tiny Mr.
Yeah.
Mushroom.
And I'm like,
Mushroom.
he's not uncut. Haha. Anyways.
Why? I did not need to know that.
Oh, it's fine. Anyways, I turn around. I'm like, oh my god, I can't. I'm like going like this, covering my face. I'm like,
Going like this, she says.
I can see
you guys can feel me. Anyways, I'm like,
You guys can feel. You can feel me. Okay, all of our listeners out there, hands up if you can feel us.
I can see your hands. Anyways.
I can see you from here.
Yeah. I'm covering my face, and I'm like, no, put it away. I don't want to see it. And then he grabs my hand and makes me touch it, and I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, no, stop! I don't want to touch it. Stop! Like I was kind of playing it off as a joke. And
I to this day have no idea how neither your great grandmother or your grandmother. I don't know how they couldn't have turned around because
no, they didn't even notice.
if I'm driving and I hear two of my kids in the back seat essentially, and I hear one of my kids saying, "I don't want to look at it. I don't want to touch it," I'm turning around.
Yeah.
Like I want to
What
see
the
what you
fuck?
have. Like
suspicious.
my first thought isn't even necessarily something awful or dirty like that. My first thought is, what the hell did you bring with you?
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like, do you have a pet frog? Like, what is going
My
on?
mom-
What is in the back?
My mom would say, "You better not make a mess in my car."
Yeah.
What do you have?
But I
slime?
the hell, yeah.
But once again, I feel like that's the natural reaction is
But they
either
didn't
to
even say
turn around
anything.
or say, "What do you have? What's
Yeah.
going on?"
I didn't say anything. I'm telling you guys right now, nothing.
I mean, they're both old, but they're not so old that
No,
they're
yeah,
completely
no, definitely.
deaf. So
Yeah.
there's no way they missed it.
They were both under the age of 70 then.
They were both under
under the age of 70.
So they weren't that old. Anyways. Yeah, it happened like I'd say almost every 2 months. That's how often we went there. And he would usually
every single time something
Yeah.
like this would happen, and they never turned around and they never
Nope,
asked questions.
nope. And it went on for
I
about,
don't know how you can miss it one time, let alone
Yeah.
multiple times.
And there was a few times where I slept over his house. The only reason I slept over his house because I love my auntie. I love her so much. And
She is your family.
Yeah. And the only reason I had to sleep there is because of her. I'd go sleep with her in her bed. There was one time where I was sitting on her bed waiting for her to get home. I think she was bringing food. And he came in there and sat with me, started like rubbing my thigh. And then he was like making fun of me for having boobs. Then he touched them. And I'm like, first of all, I don't like them either. But second of all, don't do that.
I just think it is so disturbing that this is someone who has assaulted you on multiple occasions in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And your family knows about it.
Yeah.
As much
No,
as
they
we
do.
say, oh, they never turned around. The thing is, eventually, you admitted to some of your other cousins, and they
Yeah.
ended up telling your mom. So eventually, this whole thing blew up. And not only is he not,
Punished.
he
in
has
any
not
way.
been Aaliyah, take your brain goo back, please.
Never.
Just like sponge it all up.
I'll
He
just-
has not been hanged, drawn, or quartered.
Unfortunately.
He has not been disavowed from the family. He has not been disinherited. He is still around to this day. He is still invited to family functions, and he is still around you.
Yep.
And it kills me because they know at this point.
He
Your,
gets-
your family knows at this point.
Like, he's like good at hockey, and he has like a talent, I guess. But
Talent does not
Yeah,
overtake
no.
bad behavior.
My family
And
does, though.
I say bad behavior in like the nicest way possible
Yeah.
because this goes so far beyond bad behavior,
Yeah.
quote
Yeah.
unquote, that it's disturbing.
it's just hard because I do so well in dance and school and everything. I try my very best to make other people happy and myself too. But I want to make my family happy, make them proud. And they just kind of go, "Oh yeah, Charlie does dance.
And then with Tug, it's almost just this whole
Oh,
fanfare
he's
thing.
going to Detroit Lakes. He's gonna be playing there, and he's gonna be doing this." And I'm like,
Let me just say right here and right now, I'm pretty sure if any of those hockey scouts or anyone, or if the government knew
They
about
found
his
out?
Yeah.
misdemeanors, I don't think he'd be going anywhere to play professionally.
That's why I think if he was to ever go professional, I think I'd tell. I don't think anyone would do anything about it, but just so people know.
It bothers me so much the fact that, yes, your mom is in your corner. Your mom has tried to bring this
Yeah,
up several
she's-
times, but unfortunately, your family, the rest of your family has basically said, well, if you don't like it, don't be involved in the family.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
instead of treating Tug as if he's the one who's done wrong, whenever your mom has tried to
Yeah.
bring it up, it's been, well, don't like it, get out of the family.
Yeah.
And that is
Like-
so unforgivable to me.
It's wrong.
Yeah, it's so bad, and I just hate going to family gatherings because
He's always there.
every single time before. Like my mom will be like, "So, are you guys gonna come to my dinner tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Is Tug gonna be there?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I think I have dance tomorrow, so and I won't have dance.
And you'll
I'm not
just be
going."
making excuses. And you're just like, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be
yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
And it bothers me because I also know there's a situation where basically your grandmother purposely stuck the two of you together
Yeah.
and tried to force you
I
guys
asked
to make
her
amends.
to drive me from school to dance because I was cold and hungry and I don't want to walk there because it was really damn cold.
I mean, to be fair, it's not even that you were being wussy. It's that in the Great White North up
Ugh.
here, it gets very cold.
was
There are some days that it's so cold that if you breathe through your nose will like freeze
Yeah,
together.
just from waiting outside for my boogers were like frozen to my
Yeah,
nose.
it sounds horrible, and don't ask me why any of us live here because I personally, I'm anemic and I can't stand it up here. Don't
Yeah.
ask me why I'm here. I hate the cold.
Yeah.
I hate this city.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. We all do.
But anyway,
We hate this. Oh, wait, no. That's built.
but you asked her for a ride because it
Yeah,
was that
it was really
cold. And, you know, I hate to say it, but it was almost one of those days where even if you had wanted to, people could sit there and say, oh, well, you could have walked. On a day like that, it's not very realistic.
there's-
Given how far you would have
yeah.
had to go, the chances of frostbite were very high. So
Yeah.
almost for your own safety, you should have
yeah.
been getting a ride.
Like, usually I walk everywhere. Like, I always walk to dance.
This was one of those days where
Yeah.
walking really was not suitable.
not really
it was
an
not
option.
really an option.
Yeah. So I asked her, and I remember getting in the car, and I was expecting to just go, and she's sitting there, and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, waiting for Tug. And I'm like, why? I'm giving him a ride home. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
because she didn't tell you in advance
Yeah.
that she was planning on picking him
Yeah.
up as well.
I'm like,
she did not
no,
tell you.
She just tricked me, if anything.
She knew what was going on between you two. She knew about this
She
whole
knew,
fallout thing,
yeah.
and she basically forced you two into the car
Yeah.
together.
And I guess Tug was talking to me and asking me about my class, and I was kind of sitting there very uncomfortable. Oh, yeah, like, they said this to me, and no, they're giving me that for this.
You're being cordial,
Yeah.
you're being polite, but you really don't want to
I
be
don't
there.
want to talk to him. And my mama looks at both of us and says, "Oh, so are you guys getting along now? Is that my like Christmas present?" And I'm like,
That bothers
Ooh,
me
what did
so
he say?
much.
It's fucked up.
This
yeah.
whole thing implying that, oh, are you two giving me a Christmas gift by, you know,
Getting along.
by an attacker and his victim getting along together? I can't imagine any other scenario where
My grandma.
where anyone would look at sort of a sexual assault victim and say, "Oh, you getting along with your attacker? Is this a gift for me?" Like that is so
It's self-centered.
Yeah. And like I hate to say it, like I love her, but geez, I hate it because I always want to make her happy, and it has led to me in many situations where I was very uncomfortable. I remember this one time, it happened kind of recently, which I hate. I was sleeping at her house, and I remember the night before I asked her, I'm like, is Tug gonna be there? She's like, no, he's not. He's at his house right now. I'm like, okay, can I come sleep over? She said, yeah. And she had to go to work in the morning. She goes to work early at like 8 o'clock. So, and I was sleeping on the couch, and she's like, kisses. And I wake up, but I'm sleeping, if that makes sense. And she opens the door, and I can hear him. And I'm like,
she invited him.
I'm
over.
like,
She
I'm like, okay,
invited him
maybe
over.
if she's here, okay, fine. She kisses me and says, okay, Tug's gonna lock up. And I was like,
She walked.
What?
She invited him over, and then she walked out of the building and left you there alone with him.
I was there for an hour alone with him, sleeping. Imagine what he would have done to me.
I
Ugh.
like to think that I am fairly good with words. I am a person who would rather talk than fight physically.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even. This sort of thing makes me so angry that I am at a loss for words, and that rarely, if ever, happens.
Yeah.
Like my brain. I can't. Like I have no words for how angry I am. I am so angry.
Yeah, I was really scared. And then he left without saying anything or talking to me, but thank God.
The
But
way you felt alone
Either
was
way.
enough.
Either
The
way,
fact that
yeah.
she invited him over and then fucking left after knowing what he had done to you on
Yeah.
multiple occasions.
Yep.
I have no words.
The fact that I was asleep too.
I have no words.
Like-
I can't.
I was laying there with my eyes closed and listening to his every move.
And the trouble is, I feel like your grandmother is not an unreasonable person. I've met her several times.
She's really nice and everything.
And this is exactly, and I don't know why this is the
It's-
one thing that she.
It's because he's her favorite and doesn't want to see him. Her favorite thing to say is, "Oh, you and Tug are gonna go so far."
I just can't. It makes me angry.
And I'm
I
like-
can't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I can
I do not
understand.
think that talent outweighs abuse. It does not.
It doesn't.
It's not okay to sit there and go, yeah, what he did was wrong, but his talent, are you really going to take that away from him? Bitch, yes, I will.
Yep.
You better believe I will.
Yeah.
Just,
Just a couple months ago, I had a talk with his mom where she was crying to me. She's like, I've been wanting to talk to you for a while now. It's been almost 3 years, but I was like, okay.
This is your aunt talking to you.
Yeah, I was like, okay, oh, it's about time. And she bought me supper, and she is like crying to me. She's like, I want to believe you. Like, trust me. I want to believe you, but he's my son, and I don't know what else to do.
And I feel like that, if anything, is a full admission of guilt.
Yeah.
I want to believe you, but he is my son. In other words,
And I can understand that.
I'm left. The only thing I can think is that she does believe you, and what she is really saying is, I believe you, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything about this because
Yeah.
I will not harm my own
Yeah.
flesh and blood,
Yeah.
even if it's to protect you.
Yep.
And that sort of sellout is,
It was so hard.
I can't. If it was one of my children, you best believe I'd be taking them out and like.
Yep.
Old style, I would be caning them to
Yeah.
death. Like,
Yeah.
they would be done for. I would bury them under the oak tree
Yeah.
without a gravestone.
Yep.
I would never. When you are raising children, be it male or female, if your child does something wrong, you cannot be afraid of
Something
that.
that wrong.
You
Yeah.
cannot be afraid of it reflecting on you and go, well, I don't want people to think I'm a bad parent. And you cannot sit there and say, well, what about my child's future? I'm sorry, you need to think about the future that your child also ruined. You need to think about the person that your child affected.
Yeah.
I am not one who sympathizes with attackers. I
No.
can't.
Yeah.
Because to me, there is never an excuse.
No.
Quite recently, my grandma, she was talking to me about Tug and saying like, oh yeah, his mom like took away his phone and is getting mad at him for running away, which I don't understand because I think he just has a really hard home life and he just deserves better. I'm like,
Hard home life and deserves better my ass.
what? Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to say I deserve better because I'm fine. I'm okay now, I guess. But I have dance and I have my family, but he does not deserve better. He gets everything he wants, like everything.
And
he
I can't
wants.
even imagine how hard it has to be, not only knowing that your attacker is basically getting off scot-free, but that
Yeah.
he's almost coddled by the family.
2 weeks ago, he hit his mom. He's 16 years old and hit his mother. And I swear, if I see her again, I'm gonna be like, "Do you believe me now?" And if she still says no, I'm like, "Okay, I'm done with you guys." But
So very obviously, you have had a lot of trouble with boys. Do you think that this is part? I know we kind of said before where you are already attracted to girls, so you can't just say that your trauma made you gay.
No.
Because as I said before, I think that means that you may be repulsed by men, but I don't think that would inherently make you attracted to women.
it influenced a lot into my
It did
reasoning of
influence
being
you.
gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when people ask me like, "Why are you gay?" I'm like,
There are many reasons.
I don't really like men. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of Charlie's story. I'm sure that there are a lot of listeners out there who have been through similar things, and I think the best thing we can say is talk to somebody.
Yeah.
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 The more you keep something like this in, the worse it gets, and I feel like if it were not for the fact that, Charlie, you had people to turn to, I feel like this would have festered inside of you and
Yeah.
become a lot worse.
It's so hard to even think about someone that close to you doing that. I grew up with him. It was just really hard. And you just need to talk because you don't realize how bad it is until you say something, especially if you're really
And then it
close to
kind of
them.
hits you and you
Yeah.
realize just how sickening it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the heartbreak comes.
So as we said, no matter who it is, talk to somebody. Even if you want to reach out and talk to one of us, I mean,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
three of us have more than enough experience, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to say that we're counselors or anything.
We're not.
No.
But if you need a shoulder to cry on, like, by all means, what else is this community for,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, a bit of a somber episode, but that is all we have for you today, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Believe in the titty.
Believe in the titty.
Boob is great.
Boob is great.
Just one tit.
one tit.
One singular
What?
tit.
One singular tip.
What is it? What's the saying?
Which saying?
All for one and one for all. All for tit and tit for all.
That is the most gay mantra
Quote of the
I've
day.
ever heard.
Take it gay by gay, guys.
Bye.